Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 20.
Yay!
What a good way to celebrate our 20th episode by having one of our AFB, American Foundation of the Blind staff talking to us about their 100 years of work and what they have planned for their near future. This is Jose. I am a transition student from Colorado, and my teacher, Miss Christine Dully, is the podcast facilitator. The It's My Job podcast features students interviewing adults who are blind or visually impaired, investigating important questions like how they use technology and how they connect with other people. Stay tuned after the podcast to hear how to get involved, and please share with your friends and teachers so they can listen too. Now for the interview. James from Colorado is interviewing Melody from AFB, American Foundation of the Blind staff, and she will talk about the initiatives that AFB is currently doing. She is sharing her passion for advocacy, and she also discusses technology with James. Now, let's listen to the interview with James and Melody.
What tools and technology do you use to succeed in your role in the AFB?
Sure, that's a great question. So I am totally blind and I use JAWS, which is a screen reading software for my computer so that I'm able to access all the application. I also use VoiceOver on my iPhone. I also use Ira too. So if I'm looking, especially with traveling, as we haven't been doing much traveling now with COVID, but I also use that as another tool to help me if I have if something's going on with my computer or I just want to check something out or make sure when I'm doing. I do a lot of videos for work that I send to client potential funders just to introduce myself. So I'm trying to do a lot of fun things to make sure that I have that accessibility.
That sounds cool. Okay, what research does the AFB conduct?
The American Foundation for the Blind, we have 3 key areas of research. I'll start with those first. So what we would look at is education, employment, and our aging population. And those are 3 key areas of which we do research. I can tell you, James, in this time of COVID, we've really explored a lot of opportunities on working with the blindness community, with vision teachers, policymakers, and also another blindness organizations to partner. We've partnered with 14 organizations during the time of COVID and did a big study on the 2 areas where we focused in education on how students with blindness were handling that transition of technology, if they were getting the appropriate support that is needed. And we also focused on how people in the blindness community were feeling about COVID and getting access to testing and other areas and even getting medical help. So what we were able to do is do that research, unflattened accessibility, which you can check out on our website at afb.org. So we were able to take that data and to really not only collect it, but to able to provide the community resources of how they could advocate for themselves in order to get things they needed and bring awareness to the lack of support that they were having.
What education does the AFB provide?
So what we do for education, it's a really good question. We really do work with our goal at AFB is to create systemic change. And our mission statement is to create a life with no limits for people that are blind and vision impaired. And in our celebration, actually this year is our 100th year, which is very exciting. And one of the things that we're really focusing on is making sure that inclusion knows no limits. We've tagged it up a little bit. And with respect to education, James, what we've really been doing is focusing on one of the things like the unflattened accessibility project that we did is really being able to provide those resources. But we work with our direct orders who are doing these things on the ground floor to be able to help and support them with the things that they need and bringing it to awareness to everyone. So that's kind of how we focus on education, but being one of our major points. It's just making sure that, we can be a support system and supplying those education needs and being able to be voices to those partners of ours. And we look at education from such a scope. It starts from, obviously with children, and then also educating on employment, educating on how blind people how we do work for inclusive work environment. So we look at it in that approach in several different areas. And also educating on our aging population too, so that, when you're retiring and making sure that they live full lives. And that's something that we kind of move into as well. well. We want to make sure that everyone is educated so we can help break down those barriers.
Cool. What accessibility tools does the AFB provide?
That's a good question. So as an employee of AFB, we really make sure that our systems are all inclusive. We have such a collaborative environment. And what we really do is we have two key areas that I think are really important is we have AFB consulting. And what that is that is our consulting wing AFB. And we have lots of partners that we work with, corporate organizations, Teach Access, which is a really great program. And what we do is we're able to go in and do testing abilities for seeing if websites are accessible, and we're able to go in to make sure that they are. And what I really love about AFB consulting is we're not only just looking at accessibility, we are looking at usability and having a user-friendly experience. Fix those websites to make them, work with any type of screen readers, but also for any disability. I find that to be really important.
So how long have you worked with the AFB, and do you see yourself staying with the AFB for years to come?
Yeah, most definitely. I love that question. I really, really love my job. And I'll tell you, just going back to, prior to losing my vision, like I said, in 2003, I was a teacher. And one of my roles in teaching that I really loved is advocacy. And I have found that in my job as a major gift officer, and it's being able to talk to individual major donors or individual or corporations or anyone and be able to really talk about and advocate on behalf of showing that what we're able to do. And that's been something that's been really important to me. And being able to talk about those three key areas of education, employment, and our aging community and population. So those are the areas that I really enjoy working in, and working in the community and understanding, where we need support, where we can offer support, and how we as blind individuals do things differently, which just fosters total inclusion and innovation. I think that's so really important. And I really, really love how my organization supports and advocates for that, and doing it in so many ways by education, also with the AFB consulting wing and showing how we can do that, and other areas of our research too, which has been really important. And so I imagine myself saying, yes, I can definitely, I want to really grow here. And we are starting so many exciting things, especially in our 100th celebration, that have been just so instrumental. And I love my job so much. And it's such a great place to work. I love the camaraderie with my coworkers, and we're all just kind of in it together to really live that mission.
Cool. What led you to this job at the AFB?
Well, I really found that I wanted to move back into the nonprofit world. I had an internship in college with a nonprofit, which I really enjoyed. I also, when I was looking for employment, when I became blind, did a lot of volunteer work. I found the first thing I did was I was getting really tired of being at home. I was like, okay, when I was building my confidence back up, I wanted to do something. So I called a whole bunch of nonprofits, and I actually found an area where I could do some volunteer work. So 2 days a week, I started volunteering at the local library, rewinding tape. It was a really good, we don't have tapes anymore, but it was a good experience for me to be able to really get out and exposing myself to that. And I just think that there's such a I love being in the nonprofit space. I also did volunteer work for Leader Dogs for the Blind and the Lions Club International, and going around doing public speaking, talking about their guide dogs, because I do have a guide dog. Her name's Daisy. And I just really enjoyed, being able to do that. And I really found that so when I heard about AFB and an opening that we had here, which I was notified from our CEO, Dr. Kirk Adams. And I really, like I said, I started in the executive office, and it was just a wonderful experience for me. And I really felt, James, at that time that I was able to really kind of hone in on what it is I wanted to do and where I wanted to be and where I wanted to see my career go. Because, I was so focused on my plans of being a teacher, and then I wanted to move into the administrative portion, and kind of build on my career. And now I'm able to do that at AFB.
That's cool. What education did you require to get this job?
So I have a bachelor's in communication, and I also have a certificate in government contracting, because I did do that for 10 years. But I would say that my experience in communication coupled with also in special education has really helped me move into the place where I am. So that's been really exciting. I also have a certification in coaching, which I received at the Coactive Training Institute in California. And that also too, I think it's been a really big help. So that's my kind of education history, of course, that has really been fun for me and has been really helpful in my current role.
What does the AFB do for blind and visually impaired children, adults, and elders?
So I love how we kind of placed on this because that's our strategic plan in those three key areas, right, of education, employment, and the aging population. So what we really take a look at, and I got to put this broad scopely, is our goal is to cause systemic change, meaning that we want every individual that is blind or vision impaired to have the same type of training, to have across the board. So we see there's holes in that area, right? So it's like you can go into one area and the training that someone else has received is not the same kind of training someone else would, or services that they're being provided are not the same. So what our goal at AFB is to take those areas and cause a systemic change that everyone has the same type of access, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how we do that in each area. We look at that with our partners, which is corporate sponsors. We also do that with policy makers. And what's really exciting, and also too with the AFB consulting wing. So that's how we really do. We really want to work with our partners so that we're able to, really listen to what it is that they're saying and how we can support and how we can work together. And I also want to mention here, James, is, we have a lot of people that, we're getting older, we're living longer. And there's there are approximately 32 million people living in the United States with a vision impairment. And those numbers are just going to go up. And I'm just talking about in the United States. And so what we really want to focus in on our aging population is either for 55 or in your 60s. And then, we have glaucoma and a lot of those eye diseases that are actually, very real. We want someone who has a fruitful career to be able to feel comfortable with their employer and say, listen, I'm experiencing vision loss. And a lot of people hide it or try to, and don't really even realize that there are services that they could get to help them. And what we're really trying to do is really change that. So if employers are educated and know about blindness, that they're able to help that individual really still thrive in their career and help with minimal accommodations. We want to make sure that that voice is really heard. And another area that we're really working into is the transportation field, making sure that, because that is a huge barrier to employment, right? So that's another key area too that we look at, is making sure, wanting to be at voices for people that live in different areas that don't have access to paratransit, and making sure that they are able to have that access or to be able to assist wherever we can. So those are those three key areas that we do. Education, we can go back to the research that we've done. And then also just being able to, employment is working with corporations in AFB Consulting to making sure that those products and services are accessible. Well, actually, really, James, not only accessible, but they're an experience that is a user-friendly experience. And I believe those two distinctions really do need to be made because there is a difference with something being accessible and something being user-friendly. So that's the areas in a broad scope that we are working on.
Cool. One last question. How does the AFB get the audio descriptions to explain the videos?
Oh my gosh. James, when I saw this question, I was super excited because audio description, I'm so passionate about. It's one of my favorite topics. And we have very high standards of how we feel like everyone needs to be inclusive, right? So if you will go to afb.org/100, we've done a lot of virtual events this year to celebrate our 100, but also during the time of COVID, we really had to pivot, right? We were having our gala come up. We had to really do some major pivoting. We all did, right? We had to move to this virtual world. And what was so exciting was that we are pretty much a virtual company already. Our employees are all over the United States, which is really great. And what is so cool is that we really got the opportunity, and we make sure that we have audio description. We work with people that understand that. We make sure we have audio description, that we have ASL interpretation, that we have captioning, and we also really, live what we preach, and that is accessibility and inclusion for everyone. So if we make sure that all of our programming is fully accessible, and that's not only in what we do outwardly, but inwardly too, with our internal organization is making sure that we have our materials fully accessible, because we all need to have access, right? That audio description is so important because it's a visual image where, quite frankly, we don't have it. And that's what brings you into the conversation. It gives you that added input that a visual user would see so that you're able to be fully engaged in the conversation and fully aware, which is just going to make everything better for everyone. And that is, I could go on for hours about audio description because it's such a fun thing for me. But that's really what we do focus on. And it's really exciting to talk about how that's done and how it must be, moved into different areas as well.
Cool. That sounds really interesting.
It is.
Doesn't really help us blind or visually impaired individuals understand what's going on,
Exactly. I agree with you. And I think, just from my own point of view, like I really love the fact that audio description, I think, needs to come into obviously more shows, which is great, but also into the workplace, coming into museums, because we shouldn't have to work to be entertained, right? So I think that it's a really unexplanatory, a good place to explore, the audio engineering and having it placed in the right place. And I can really see, like, as blind individuals, we have such a voice here to provide this quality audio description. But quite frankly, it's just, like I said, I could go on and on and on about this subject, and we should connect afterwards. I can connect you to so many people about audio description because I can tell you have a passion for it.
I'm actually going to be working on a project that is going to deal with describing images and all of that for the yearbook this year. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, I also work on doing accessibility scene for my dad for his website too.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, I also wanted to add, this has been such a great thing for me. When we started in COVID, we really wanted to kind of see how we could, connect with people. And we started doing a podcast, but it wasn't a podcast at the time. It grew into a podcast. It's called Inform and Connect, just because I really wanted to be able to connect people and inform them of what was going on in the world. I kind of got into podcasting. We turned it into one, and it's just been a great experience to be able to meet all these people that are providing these great services and for us to get our voices out there. I love being able, and I'm just really, really, really honored to be here with you today to talk about these things that are so critical, and what you're doing is so amazing. So, we all have our passions. And one other thing I kind of wanted to add when you're talking about employment, my own personal journey of going from being totally, having sight, driving, and all of that, and then moving into the world of blindness, is that, we as blind people, all of us, even if blind or not, we all have unique gifts, right? So what's really important is that you can go after your dreams. You can do a job. I never in my wildest dreams would think that, when you first told me that I was never going to be able to see again, that I would be happy doing what I'm doing. And when you have that supportive environment and supportive family, we really are limitless in our possibilities and what it is that we can do. And I just want to encourage you, listeners of your podcast, that if there is something that you want to do and what you want to be, just go for it. Just try something, whether it's taking a class, whether it's connecting with somebody who knows what it is that you want to do that's doing that. Reach out to them. But we are fully capable, and you can have the life that you want to live as far as moving into places, just not in work, but we have our voices in advocacy, and we are our own best champions. And I just wanted to put that in there too.
Actually, when you said that, reminded me of the CCB for 2020, live the life you want, because it's something that everybody wants to do. And, you can't let your blindness stop you from what you want to do.
Right. Fear is a really, really ugly thing. And I think that's something that I've really learned, and moving past it. And though it can be scary, but I've also learned that things I do that I'm push myself out of my comfort zone are the things that have helped me grow and achieve bigger goals that have been such a beautiful thing. And I believe if you lead with your heart and you do what it is that you need to do and align yourself with like-minded individuals and have that support, because we all need support. We're not, we're not islands, but it's just showing that we can do these things. And I always approach things with, yes, I'm blind, and let me show you how that's really cool and how that's going to help and how I can show you something different. And I think looking at it through that lens is also really a place that's helped me kind of grow in my own personal journey, both professionally and personally. What are your career goals? I know we talked just a titch about that, but what are they?
I'm looking into going into some technical support with like Apple. I'm also looking into doing some accessibility stuff for like Samsung, see if I can, hey, how can I help you with your accessibility? How can I help improve it, you know?
Right.
Because accessibility is the main thing that shies blind people away from using the devices they want to use, you know?
Right. No, I agree. And I love it. Your passion comes through, James.
Funny thing, I actually do help other students here in the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind with their computers. I've even worked with a supervisor in the dorms last night with a screen reader called Narrator. Now,
Yes.
Narrator is not the most accessible screen reader, but if that's the only other screen reader you have, then that's the only other one you have to use. Because if you look at Android, you can get Vocalizer for Android. You can even get eSpeak, which is interesting. You can also get Eloquence too, which I got on my last Android phone. You can actually download those. I've done that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Was it easy to figure out?
Oh yeah.
Good. Have you tried Spectrum Access, that app?
Spectrum Access, you said? No, I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay.
I will be looking at that once I can get a break, and once I'm at lunch, I will go ahead and look at that. And you said it's Spectrum Access, SPECTROMACCESS.
It's actually Spectrum with a U at the end, so SPECTRUM.
Okay. Cool.
And
Thank
it's a
you.
free app. Yes.
Cool.
While you're listening to a show, what it does, it has capability of doing, if they have it in their library, it'll ask to access your microphone, and it'll pick up where you are, and it takes about no more than 30 seconds for it to sync on where you are, and then the audio description comes through. It's pretty cool. So then if you pause the show, like my son and I know it's so awesome. It's like magic. My son and I were watching, it is. We were watching Secret Life Pet, and they didn't have audio description. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have it. So I tried it, and then he paused the show to go get popcorn. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? But then I stopped it, and it resank. I just resank right back up with it. It's really simple to use. We actually interviewed the creators of the app for Spectrum Access, which is a company called Charter Communications.
Cool.
We interviewed them on our podcast.
Fun. I'll have to check that out.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, and then one last question, because I know we gotta go in here. But so what do you want to do for a career? What really interests you?
I am looking at either working with computers, trying to fix them, software and all of that. Also doing some software testing, which funny enough, I'm technically doing with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is what the phone I currently use, and the Apple Watch. I'm testing iOS 14.5 and watchOS 7.4.
Nice.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell James you are going to be, sky's the limit for you. That is so exciting. We'll have to definitely stay in touch, and I would love to put you in touch with some really cool things that are happening in audio description and the world, and help in any way that I can.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, I'd love to connect you with the Spectrum Access folks so you can talk to them about their app. I'm sure they'd love to hear about it, your experience when you download it.
Cool. I thank you for the time that you are taking to do the interview with us, and I hope you have a great day.
You did too, James, and honestly,
thank you.
It was totally my pleasure, all mine. Thank you so much for asking me, and I look forward to keeping in touch and helping you guys in any way you possibly can. Please, I'm always here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
We're almost there. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Hi, it's Jose again. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the It's My Job podcast. What did you think? If you have any questions for Melody or James, we would be happy to pass them along, and we might even share your questions and answers in a future episode of the It's My Job. If you missed episode number 19, head over to YouTube or Facebook to hear Cheyenne's interview with Sasha. You will love to check this out, especially if you're going to go visit National Park. We would love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. You can share your thoughts by phone or email. The phone number is 202-688-5044. Outside of the United States, you may need to dial +1 or 1 and your international access code. Be sure to check with your parents first. The email address is askitismyjob@gmail.com. So it is ASKITSMYJOB@gmail.com. no spaces, and no apostrophe. We want you to know that you can find us on Facebook. Just search for It Is My Job. Each of our episodes is on the Perkins Path for Technology blog. Check us out and leave us a comment at perkinslearning.org/technology. And finally, we have a YouTube channel called It Is My Job, where you will find all of our episodes. This was our episode number 20, but we want to make many more, and we need your help. And if you're a student who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be an interviewer on a future episode, please have your parent or teacher contact us via phone, email, or our Facebook page, and we will get you matched up with an interviewee. If you're an adult who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be interviewed, please send us a message via phone, email, our Facebook page, and we will get back to you. We have a lot to be thankful for in this episode. Thanks so much to James for taking time as the interviewer, and thanks so much to Melody for taking her time as the interviewee. Thanks so much to Miss Christine Dully for providing us students with meaningful opportunities to experience with what you always tell us. You don't need sight, you need a vision. Thanks to Perkins Path for Technology for the vlog posts. Our music is from purpleplanet.com. With so many of us working and studying from home, we hope that this podcast is becoming a great opportunity to learn from each other and increase awareness about all the amazing jobs of people who are blind or visually impaired.